This is the presentation of Case Study 2, Scenario Planning for the LEGO Group. This is Part 1A, Lasso's 2x2 Risk Matrix. In 2006, Hans Lasso became the Senior Director of Strategic Risk Management at LEGO Systems. Two risks related to corporate social responsibility that he identified were future demographic and economic shifts and the need to innovate in order to sustain growth. LEGO used the PAPA model, Arc, Adapt, Prepare, and Act, to analyze and prioritize risks based on speed and likelihood of occurrence. There are four strategic future scenarios. The four strategic scenarios LEGO identified are as follows. More of the same. No major changes in technology or economic factors. This has a slow speed of change and a low likelihood of happening. LEGO assessed this as a park scenario. Forget about it, it's not a high priority. The next scenario is Brave New World. This scenario has significant growth driven by demographic changes. This would be a slow speed of change, but honestly a high likelihood of happening. LEGO assessed this as an Adapt scenario. This scenario will need to be monitored and adjusted as changes happen. Next scenario is Cutthroat Competition. Connectivity allows for speedy market shifts in a diverse world. The high speed of change of this scenario and the high likelihood of happening made LEGO assess this as an Act scenario. We must act now to keep strategies relevant. The final scenario was Murphy's Surprise. In this scenario, lack of resources halts globalization, leading to an extremely polarized market. This scenario would have a high speed of change, but a low likelihood of happening. LEGO assessed this as a Prepare scenario. We'll need to be alert and have contingency plans in case it happens. This is Part 1B, Risk Matrix Scenarios. In this part, the criteria for the top two threats to LEGO's strategy were determined. We determined that threats to LEGO Group must be existential. They must actually threaten the existence of LEGO Group. Supply-side threats are those that impact manufacturing. Demand-side threats, like emerging technologies, impact consumer desires. Also, existential threats are not cyclical, but systematic changes in the market and the economy. We identified two strategic risks that LEGO needs to be worried about in the future. The first is a focus on renewable and clean energy in the face of climate change will result in LEGO manufacturing being deemed non-essential and a risk to the environment. This is a supply-side issue. The second is demand for LEGO products will be eroded by the rise of smartphones, tablets, virtual reality, and gaming, and children will seek entertainment primarily in the digital world. This is a demand-side problem. This risk matrix lists out scenario descriptions, the identified issues, and the handling/resilience that LEGO will need to do in order to weather these problems. For Part 2, we first analyzed the shell-style scenarios. Shell separated scenarios into two possibilities, mountains and oceans. Mountains scenarios imagines a world where successful countries and institutions in power work to retain that success and power. Supply-side investments thrive, while demand growth is stunted due to decreased social mobility. Developing Eastern powers confront and assert themselves against established Western powers. The other scenario that Shell identified is the ocean scenario. In this, new economies and political parties can find success. Volatility attributed to climate change is extremely high. Social technology disrupts established governments and ushers in a wave of populism. Overall, this scenario was extremely volatile, in Shell's opinion. The first scenario that we envisioned for LEGO was a mountain scenario. We called it Nor'easter. In this scenario, we determined that LEGO should keep their strategies ready for capitalizing on the emerging markets as they grow. Also, underdeveloped countries welcome foreign trade, and in return, industries receive low-cost labor. LEGO should be aware of this. Also, technological advancements and exploration of new resources lead to increases in purchasing powers in developing countries. Already, LEGO is strategically positioning themselves to generate revenues from emerging markets as power shifts from the US to Asia. LEGO is doing this by outsourcing labor and services to China and India. The other scenario we came up with was the ocean scenario. We called it Mr. Roboto. In this scenario, industries are facing severe competitive and comparative threats. LEGO's mission of generating creativity, problem solving, and imagination are already being challenged by changes in technology and the climate. Increased connectivity and quickening technological advances threaten LEGO's core product, which is the brick. In this scenario, LEGO needs to strengthen existing partnerships with tech companies in order to address demand-side threats.